So welcome to the Wednesday, October 21, 2020 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. Consistent with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 25 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who wish to do so are invited to do so to view the meeting at the link provided both on the Conservation Commission meeting notice and agenda, and also located on the remote meetings website for the City of Gloucester. In the event that a live transmission proves unworkable for any reason, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made available on the city's website as soon as possible. That is all.
Thank you, Adrian. So first up is our administrative briefing. I'm not sure if you have anything to add at this time.
I wanted to share with the commission that we did hire a ComDev clerk.
Excellent.
So we are thrilled to be filling that position. We are actually stealing the clerk from IT. So we're really happy to be getting that level of support now in the ComDev department, and hoping to tighten up some of the outstanding issues that I don't think that commissioners so much see on the outside, but inside the department we have been scrambling to try to manage since Marie Santos retired. So it's good news.
Excellent. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay, moving on. Next is our public comment period. This is the period where the public is welcome to speak on any conservation issues that are not on tonight's agenda. So if you have, you want to make a public comment, you should raise your hand now, or is it *9?
That's correct. So if you are a member of the public and you are interested in speaking during the public comment period, and you are viewing the meeting from either a laptop or a smartphone, there is a raise your hand button that you can use, and we will recognize you in turn. Or if you are dialing in from a phone, then you will dial *9 to speak during public comment.
Any hands raised?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'm surprised. I got a call from someone saying they might speak, so. Okay. Seeing no one in the public comment booth, we'll hearing none, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. Minutes review and approval, status on that?
Same with the conservation clerk.
Excellent. Okay. Did they procure that lovely little electronic equipment that'll help with the transcribing, or no?
I had put in a request through IT for an update on that, and my understanding is that was something that we were working with the former IT director to try to solve or to try to decide how many licenses we needed to buy for the entire city, and then he moved on, and so I did actually just get pinged back this week from IT to find out if we would like a license, and I said of course yes. So I do believe there's some forward motion on the matter.
Oh, good. Excellent. Okay, then. Moving on, we're on to section 4, continued business. We have notice of intent 28-2649-677 Western Avenue. Tony Capichetti at Haynes Engineering representing. This has been previously continued to November 4th. I'm assuming that's still the case?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Next, we have notice of intent 028-2708, 125 Eastern Point Boulevard, Grant. Hancock Associates representing, and they also have been previously continued to December 2nd. I'm assuming that's still the same.
They have requested a continuance to December 2nd. Their representative was before the commission in September, I believe. I asked to give us an update, and they're evaluating due to funds because of the state of emergency. However, their filing fee was fairly steep because it's a seawall project, and they asked to stay open as long as possible.
Okay. So then with that, can we do a roll call vote to continue the project at 125 Eastern Point Boulevard to December?
Jackson moves to continue the hearing to December 2nd.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook. He's here.
He's here. He's a hesitator.
Yes.
There you go.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, notice of intent 28-2732, 28 King Philip Road, Surratt, Bill Manual of Wetland and Land Management representing. Bill here?
I do not see Bill.
Hmm.
That's a surprise.
I saw there was something that came in that said he was present. I wonder if he left briefly.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
table it.
Okay. He has a
Is it-
lot on the agenda tonight. That would really shorten the meeting.
No.
I'm gonna just check my email quickly and see if he's having technical difficulties or something. Go ahead.
Do you want me to move on, table it and move to the next project?
Let's do that, yeah.
Okay. So next up is notice of intent 28-27. Again, this is under continued business. Notice of intent 282736, 11-13 Harbor Loop, Senecal, John Dick at Hancock Associates representing. Let's see, John.
And John's here.
We can
Hi,
hear
John.
you.
Adrian and I
John.
spoke earlier today, and apparently there has been no response from Division of Marine Fisheries or from your shellfish warden or from the harbor master. I've been unsuccessful in reaching any of them today. I said I'd open the hearing tonight to bring you up to date, and that's my update. I'm going to have to ask for continuance to the next hearing so I can get some public comment.
Okay. So with that, can I get a motion to continue the project at 1113 Harbor Loop to November 2nd?
So moved. Jackson.
Charpentier seconds.
Would that be November 4th?
I'm sorry,
November-
November 4th.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
And thank you for your patience.
No, thanks again, John. Good luck. Next up is RDA 1664 1253-1255 Washington Street. Peter Rosamilla applicant representing.
All right.
There, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let me pull it up for you, Peter.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can
Okay,
you see what we
so
see? Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Peter, sorry.
I do.
Name and
Yeah,
address for
okay.
the record, sorry. Name and address for the record, sir?
Peter Rosamilia, 1253-1255 Washington Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts, 01930.
Excellent.
Okay, so the purpose of the request for determination of applicability is that there's a tree that lines the driveway, which an arborist is advised is diseased or is dead actually, and needs to come down. The sketch shows the location, so we do have a wetlands on the property, and the tree is in the buffer zone. It's at the edge of the buffer zone, and the diagram shows the approximate location. So there's 3 or 4 trees along the driveway, and the arrow is pointing to a pine tree that needs to come down. And we want to remove it so it doesn't fall, and we need to do stump grinding so there's no tripping hazard, et cetera. And so I believe the RDA was necessary because of the stump grinding. So
Okay.
the request is for determination of applicability. If I can go ahead and, I have a professional tree organization lined up to do it, and they had, advised going through the process as well. So I need to know if I can give them the green light to go ahead and remove the dead tree.
All righty then. So why don't we open it up for public comment? Does anybody though in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 1253 or 1255 Washington Street? If you do, you want to raise your hand. There should be a raise your hand screen button on your screen, or *9 if you're calling in. So do you see anyone there, Adrian?
I do not have anyone raising their hand at this time.
Okay. Then we'll probably move on to a roll call comments from the commissioners.
And a roll call comments for commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Feener,
I have a question, sir. So the stump grindings, after you grind the stump, are they going to be removed and filled in with topsoil and seeded? And if
Yes.
so, what's the time frame on that? Is that going to happen immediately after the grinding done, or is there going to be a delay?
The intention would be to do that immediately, unless there's unless there's a need for delay on your part. But the
No,
intention-
actually, it's an important caveat to actually have it done as soon as possible to make sure that the soil structure stays the same around the hole. So almost immediately, fantastic. And that's my only issue. And the other thing is that, just for reference point, it cracks me up. You said the stump's a tripping hazard, but making a hole is a tripping hazard too. So it's not really a hazard. It's just that you just want to make it the structure of the soil like it is everywhere else around after you're done. So it's not really not removing a hazard. The hazard's already there. So nothing you can do. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
okay.
After John.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment. So with that, Adrian, did you have anything to add before we move on this?
No, nothing more here.
Okay. So with that, can I get a motion to close the hearing?
Jackson moves to close the hearing for 1253 to 1255 Washington Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Jackson,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I have to recuse, so I will be stepping off.
Wait a minute, Rob. We
Oh.
haven't made the motion for a negative determination yet.
Oh, there we go.
Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1664, 1253 to 1255 Washington Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes, with the understanding that all grinds are to be removed and filled in with light soil and revegetated with seed within 1 week period after completion.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Gradwell is yes.
And all applicants moving forward, just as a point of reference, your determinations, orders of conditions, certificates, and extensions will be dated and dropped in the mail on November 5th.
Okay. I will be stepping aside for this next project, and Joe will take over.
Okay. Next up, we have RDA 1665, 26 High Rock Terrace, owner Lippy, represented by John Judd, Gateway Consultants.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, John Judd, engineer with Gateway Consultants. And this is a proposed replacement of an existing damaged dwelling that is situated on basically it's exposed rock and bedrock out on 26 High Rock Terrace. What we're doing is we're replacing the existing house that was damaged, and it's going to be raised and put on pilings on top of the exposed bedrock. There's no vegetation to speak of on this property, and the performance standards for Coastal Bank obviously are involved with sediment removal and so forth, and there is no vegetation on this property to speak of. And by raising the dwelling, pulling it back further from the ocean, it is basically an improvement to the situation that is on the property. So we're requesting a negative determination to replace this structure as shown. There is no, essentially no increase in impervious area as proposed with the calculations shown on the plan.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open this up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to comment on the project at 26 High Rock Terrace?
And if you're, as a reminder, if you're a member of the public who is watching, you can use the raise your hand button if you are logged in using a laptop computer or a smartphone. And if you have dialed in, you will dial *9 to raise your hand. There are no comments at this time.
Okay, then I will close the public comment period. Adrian, do you have comments on this?
No, this project has, and I think if you know the neighborhood, this home is very much out at the end of a outcropping of ledge and somewhat teetering over the ocean. The project has already been before the zoning board, and I think that was the place where there was the most conversation and dialogue with respect to the rebuild. So in the interest of the act and the ordinance, raising the structure outside of the flood zone is, of course, an improvement overall.
Agreed. Okay, why don't we do a roll call for commission comments?
Sure, a roll call for comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comment.
Commissioner Feener.
Just have actually a quick question. Is there going to be any landscape items installed after construction, John? Because there was no, you know, I know you said there's nothing there presently, but I didn't know if there's going to be a need of putting shrubs or anything in there, because there's nothing, you know, says in the application that you may do that or not. I just thought we should address it now.
Well, it's essentially a wash, John, on impervious area. There is a slight increase of 38 square feet. So we have shown 76 square feet, which is not a lot. We would like some latitude on that as far as landscaping on the property to sort of fit what the applicant would like to install aesthetically. We do have a mitigation notes, including native shrubs and you know, switchgrass and juniper, but they would like to incorporate that as part of a more of an aesthetic landscaping where none exists right now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. You know, additionally, I know it is a hard area to plant. So another thing is, I didn't know if there's any runoff control design from the roof or anything in this new building. If there wasn't, maybe we can just do a couple of rain barrels as well to help with the mitigation aspect of it. I think that
No
would be
problem.
the element.
Yeah.
Yeah, should add that in. That'd be great. Thank you.
Commissioner Gradwell
No comment.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
I had a question. Do you anticipate that any blasting will be necessary?
No, none at all. In fact, you know, removing that existing concrete block foundation and raising it up, you know, would allow for the passage of water underneath the structure, where right now it's all being deflected.
Right. No, I
So-
see that as a tremendous improvement overall for the property. And as far as I'm concerned, that grants you some latitude in the landscaping. It's a very small area that you need landscaped. So, okay, good. All right, is there any further discussion? Is there anybody on the commission who wants to add anything? Speak now. All right, if not, let's move forward. I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Charpentier moves to close the hearing on RDA 1665, 26 High Rock Terrace.
Gradwell seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes. Now I
Thank
will entertain a motion for a negative determination.
Charpentier moves for a negative determination with the aforementioned conditions for RDA 1665, 26 High Rock Terrace.
Gradwell seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks. Okay, do we have Rob back? Rob?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Here we are.
Yep, it's all yours.
Okay, next up. Get my glasses back on. RDA 1666. Ooh, a lot of sixes. 8 Cherry Street, Murray, Elizabeth Murray representing and applicant. I see her, but she's not unmuted yet.
Right here.
Hello,
All right. Can
Ms.
you hear
Murray?
me? Can you hear?
Elizabeth, yeah?
Yes, yes.
So a brief description, first your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, Elizabeth Murray, 8 Cherry Street, Gloucester, Mass. 01930. And my husband, Richard Murray, who lives here as well, is with me. So we put in a request. You can see this is our property here. We put in a request to replace our damaged garage with a prefab garage, which you can see in this picture. Our garage was rammed and it's in a dangerous condition, and we were ordered to take it down. And then lots of things happened. We had to do the insurance, and then we had COVID, and then we had a heart valve transplant, and here we are. We hope we could have done this. We hope we can do this fall. So when I was speaking with Adrian, the concern was, because we have a perennial stream at the bottom of the property, which is 200 feet from the corner of our garage. We did have attached to our form a topographical map, which showed the distance and also the various topographical lines. So when I was speaking with Adrian, the difficulty was, are we going to have sediment going down to the stream? And it will not. For one thing, the garage piece is up in that little tea kettle handle. It's the farthest away from, 200 feet away from the perennial stream. And there's a rough grass, rough trees, barrier of bushes before you get to the stream. That's what covers that 200 feet. And so the concern is that Adrian's concerned that we would be shedding sediment into the stream. I think is not should not be a concern. So that's where we are. I wish you could see the it's clearer, although you know, on the on the wetlands map that we appended to our document. Well, it's 184 feet, but you can see where the building is. It's right on the edge of this blue shaded area, which puts us within this area. So that's what we want to do. We want to replace, we want to comply with the order to demolish the building because it's unsafe. We want to replace it with this prefab, and to the right of it, we have another photograph of the driveway to the right. We would also like to what do you say, Rick? Hot top that?
On top that. We had filled it previously with gravel.
And you can see in the photograph one of the photographs that I appended, what's there. It's pressed down stones that Rick installed some time ago, and there's a rut here in the middle. Size-wise, we would like to go 2 feet more in the back and 2 feet more to the side. My husband has Parkinson's, and I anticipate using a wheelchair, and I anticipate having our snow blower up there so that we can clear the property from the garage to the front gate. We do Rick does come in and out of the car at the gate at times, but it's very busy and it's not all that safe. And if anybody had in this group had children that attended the O'Malley School, you know what the passage of traffic is like on that. And similarly, with regard to the parking space to the right, we wanted to smooth that out so that my husband can walk safely in all seasons up to the street. Now that we're, you know, in no snow, no ice season, he can do it. But even getting out of our car right there is very difficult when we get bad weather. So that's what I'm requesting.
Okay. Thank you. First off, we'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 8 Cherry Street? If you do, you want to, and you can see a hand, you can press on the hand button to be heard, or *9 if you're on a phone. Not sure if you're seeing anyone, Adrian.
I see no one.
Okay. So with that, seeing none, hearing none, we'll close the public comment period. Adrian, you have some concerns on this, or I think the applicant mentioned you were concerned about a couple of things, so.
Well, so this project came to me through the inspectional services permitting project process. The order to demolish the garage was over a year ago, and so they had just pulled the demo permit, and that naturally triggered my review because of the location and also because of the likelihood for soil disturbance. So in reviewing the project, there are pieces of this that I believe actually rise to the permitting standards of a notice of intent and an order of conditions. I asked the applicant to offer to the commission a presentation of all of what they would like to do so that they can improve the property after obviously you know, an accident that they have no part of. And also the now new need for the ADA compliance for future use. And so for me, I am comfortable with the replacement with the prefab, you know, the demolition work that absolutely needs to be done, and the replacement with the prefab garage with the additional, you know, 2-foot footprint for ADA compliance and access with a wheelchair. I do not think that paving the driveway is something that we can ever do under a determination because of the increase in impervious surface.
Agreed. You hit all my high points. You left me speechless, which is hard to do. So I concur completely that the garage I don't have an issue with, but I definitely, the paving aspect of it could be a problem. I recommend the applicant drop that for now, get what they need, and maybe address it under a future RDA once the grading's done, just to put the new garage in place, do what they need to do then. But then I'd look at another alternatives, be it paver, be it gravel. I know it's no fun, and it's you know, everyone wants asphalt for all the reasons the applicant said, but you are in buffer to an important resource of perennial stream. So we have to be very careful, and also, you know, we want to maintain and manage runoff, which I think can be done under the RDA portion. But the paving is a big concern for me as well. But why don't we move on to roll call comments and see what the rest of the commission has to say?
Can I respond?
After comments.
After we comment, and then you can respond. Absolutely.
Okay.
Commissioner Charpentier.
I concur with what you both have said so far.
Okay. Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. The question about the driveway, it looks, I was just looking at the picture. It looks like it's hard pack or stone dust that's put down there. If that's the case and it's been packed down there, would that make a difference, Rob? I guess that's a question that I would need to understand, because going from hard pack to paving really isn't a difference.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it really gets back to, I probably could have been more clear, is that a lot of these little things, well, not little, but the paving, the Linpack, I saw that as well. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. I think all that is addressable, but it can't be addressed at this level, I don't think, not as a package. So again, I say it would require us to go out and take a look at the site, which we could do, but we'd have to move it to a notice of intent to push all that. So to keep this moving, again, I would suggest that the applicant just replace the building and come back with a plan to deal with mitigation and driveway use, or other ways to do the driveway. But that's just me. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going down on roll call, please, Adrian.
Sure. Commissioner Feener.
So one question is for the commission more so. So this is, you know, it's within riverfront and there's no alternative analysis, obviously, because it's an RDA. So maybe you don't need one in RDA, but we should probably agree that you know, it's a redevelopment anyways, because if there is a need for alternative analysis, that triggers an immediate NOI. So if it is an RDA, you know, and if it's going to be redevelopment, a new driveway would not be redevelopment, whereas just the garage would be. So that's another thing to consider as well. So, and the other question I had is for the applicant. So the increase in size of the proposed garage, it's larger, but is the larger portion going to be nearer or further away from the river, the Alewife Brook River?
It's further away.
All right, that's a key element too, but that's the only questions I had. But I mean, the only thing I said I had an issue with is that, you know, this is riverfront and don't have an opportunity to review alternative analysis in the RDA. So.
Right. Okay, so Commissioner Gradwell.
I think everything's been addressed.
Okay. And Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No further comments.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so with that, the applicant, Elizabeth, you're welcome to speak if you want to talk about what we just said.
Sure. Again, this is at the very top edge and it's 184 down to the stream. So,
It's 60 feet in elevation away.
right, but with regard to the driveway, the hard pack, I think Rick put the hard pack down or had it put down some years ago. So we,
About 30 years ago.
but do we have, I mean, what was it like? I mean, it wasn't just stray. We really did it, right?
Yeah, it was just, the previous owner had driven their car over it. So it wasn't very level. I just tried to level it out.
Okay,
So-
I
so like
understand.
3 or 4 inches there or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know about 2.
2, okay. So, and then the third thing is then you would say that piece would have to go into another request. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if you want, there's it's not a lot of big things. It's a lot of little things that are adding up to this wanting to be a notice of intent, which we're trying to avoid for you because the paving's probably one of the biggest concerns we have. First of all, it's nasty stuff when it comes to the environment to begin with. You're on a slope. I didn't have time to go out and check your site. You've got some loose soils from the accident. You're going to have some loose soils from construction. It's a lot going on in terms of our biggest concern in these areas is making more impervious surfaces. So we get very nervous and we're trying not to make you shift to a notice of intent. We're suggesting your path forward to get the structure in place first under one RDA. And maybe, I'm not even saying if you came back to us, it still may be a notice of intent to work on this driveway because I can't get a grip of the extent of it. So, and what you're gonna need to do, and to be honest with you, what is going to be used as mitigation to offset or if there's any additional paving than what's there today. So it's just, the RDA is in place to basically say it's a relatively small project and it has no impact. This could have an impact if we approve it as is, and that's our concern. So we're trying to help you by saying, let's let you keep going with the process. Just ask for the garage at this point, get it done, come back and visit us. I know it's another application fee, but it might not be. Otherwise, we may have to push this up to a notice of intent. That's all.
That's fine, if it means that we can work immediately without taking care of that car space. Because this car probably, at this point, this is the one we use. This is the one we actually got saved on the night that this truck went through the wall. So this one we would park in the new garage. Sometimes we would use it out here. So you can vote this evening. You can vote this evening to allow us to set to work to get this demolished and to get this demolished.
Well,
Again,
I'm one person of a commission, but the feeling is if we condition it to be the garage work only at this time, I would be in favor of that. I can't speak for my fellow commissioners, but I think you heard the rest of them. I think everyone's pretty much on the same page here, that it's really the paving that is, and any earth removal or work that is going to really concern this board. So if we could note that those things won't be done at this time, then we could move potentially forward with a vote that is favorable to you.
Sure, all right. So it would be to demolish and replace.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
there's a
So-
foundation, okay, demolish and replace with the garage that we showed.
Correct.
Okay,
We'll do the verbiage, don't worry.
Rob, I have one quick comment for the
Oh,
applicant
John,
as
if
well.
you may, John, just hold on a second. What I was going to suggest, Adrian, if you want to roll call again through comments, just because
Okay.
that was a lot to take in for the
Mhm.
commissioners, they may have more comments after what I just said.
Sure. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Feener.
Yeah, to the applicant, I just wanted to say, I know the driveway proposal is 184 feet away, but it's the larger oak trees and other vegetation, especially going down that hill, that makes me concerned. Because if you alter the water runoff from the driveway, it may have a negative effect ecologically on the hillside. So that's my concern. It's not so much the distance away, but it's the vegetation between your house and the river. I just wanted to clarify that from me to you. That's all.
Understood. Thanks, John.
Okay,
Next.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
I just wanted to clarify for the applicant that we by law have to consider anything within 200 feet. We don't have any leeway on, even if it's out at the very outer edge, we don't have leeway in ignoring that. I wish we did.
okay, I realize you're kind of hemmed in. I thought, it being at the edge.
If we get a flood, the DPW building is going to be totally underwater.
Anyway, that's neighborhood chit chat here. Okay.
Was
I
it during the mother-
understand.
it was during Mother's
Thank
Day
you for your
parade.
comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
You're
Okay.
welcome.
So can we get a motion to close the hearing?
Jackson moves to close the hearing for 8 Cherry Street, RDA 1666.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're obviously going to try and move this for a negative determination in, Joe. We just want to make sure
Yeah.
we cover what we're
Yeah.
approving.
Jackson moves for a negative determination for 8 Cherry Street, RDA 1666 for the garage replacement only. This does not include the paving of the driveway area.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes, I just want to make sure we note that the increase in size is further away from the resource as well.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. And unfortunately, once again, I do need to recuse from this meeting. In the foreseeable future, I should not have to recuse for a long time. But
excellent.
thank you, Andrew.
Okay,
Thank you, Mrs. Murray.
okay, so somebody was previous to this was going to get something in the mail around November 5th, or would we be not notified sooner, or
No, November 5 is going to be the issue date.
November 5 is the issue date?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Thank you very
you.
much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
you're very welcome. Best wishes to you.
Thank you.
Next up is NOI 028. We don't have a DEP number. 21 Wingersheek Road, owned by Hendrickson, represented by John Judd of Gateway Consultants.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, John Judd, engineer with Gateway Consultants. This does have a DEP file number as noted on the screen. That must have just came in today. So in any event, this is an existing house that needs some more carpentry work around it. There's going to be no grading or vegetation removal as part of this project. It's simply to rebuild existing decks and to add, an access into the dwelling. I believe there are some photos that should be attached with the application that might be a little helpful. You can sort of see how this is a house that most of you are aware of. As you drive down Wingersheek Road, it's on the right. It's situated pretty high as you make the turn around Wingersheek road, the first turn in the road. And this is simply to replace existing decks and to add a dormer or covered entryway to allow for access into the structure at this elevated location. But there's no grading proposed with this project. We do show a proposed dumpster and erosion control around the perimeter of the project, just to ensure that no debris from this remodeling leaves the property or makes its way toward the beach. There are structures in front of the property that exist. In other words, there are buildings, residences that are between the structure and the coastal dune. So that is this is a notice of intent, and we do have a work description included, which basically describes the existing decks to be replaced. And with there will be, as part of the project, there will be a reduction in impervious area as well. So that's worth noting. It's as shown on the site plan. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. We're going to open this up for public comment first. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to comment on the project at 21 Wingershik Road? You can raise your hand if you're using a tablet or an iPad, that kind of thing. Or you can press *9 if you were calling in.
See no comments at this time.
Okay, then I will close the public comment period. And we will open this up. Adrian, do you have comments on this?
I do not. Generally, this is exactly what I expect this application to look like. And it comes with an appropriate narrative description. And ideally, I think we should be looking for the applicant to impact as little as possible on the site, because it is such a very well-established upland dune habitat. I'm hoping that the limit of work and the footprint here can be as small as possible. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Commissioners, shall we have roll call comments?
Sure. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
No comments.
Commissioner Feener.
John, so why in this application have you not added the dead tree as part of removal of the dead pine that's in there? And then also the maintenance of the wisteria by the driveway that is obviously pruned back. I think you may want to add this, especially the wisteria ones, as far as I'm concerned, because you should, I'd love to see you have a line setback from the edge of driveway so we know in perpetuity what we're going to allow for safety reasons and stuff, but we should have that delineated on this plan as it is an NOI. And
Sure.
At the same time, it makes sense to try to get that dead Austrian pine out, doesn't it? I mean, it's relatively close to the house.
That may or may not, this is unique property lines here, John. So I'm not sure that's entirely on this lot. There's a lot that is accessed, number 29, that sort of, I think it's 19, I'm sorry, number 19. You can see the unique.
If it doesn't, it does really pose a threat to the property owner, so you may want to
Sure.
talk to the neighbor.
Yep.
But the other thing is, more importantly, again, the driveway with the pruning on the wisteria and stuff, that it looks pretty and everything. It's cut back a couple of times. The purple viney stuff on the picture, on the one of the
Yes.
last pictures you have, the bottom
Yep.
right here. So, I like to see you just put a maintenance line, a delineation on a plan for me on that.
Yeah, we can certainly add that.
All right, great. Besides that, that's it. Thank you. And you can get back to us about the tree at a later date, correct?
Yep.
So Adrian, my question for you then is that if we think the tree might be on a property, should we condition that in then, as if it is a property that we allow to remove the tree at this point, so don't have to come back and amend the plan, and just if it isn't, then you just say it's not our tree?
Yeah, that's fine. I can include that in the order of conditions. And then if the work isn't done, then it isn't done. That's fine.
I just thought it'd be easier for
Yeah.
the applicant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just making notes, sorry about that. Commissioner Gradwall for comments,
No further comment.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Just a comment on the siltation barriers. How much work space are you going to need? Can we keep this to a minimum? Can you give me a number of feet that we can keep it at, John?
Yes, we have the dimension for that existing impervious deck at 12.3, and we're about 3 feet beyond it. So I would say 15 feet. I'm assuming, Aunt Joe, you're meaning toward the coastal dune.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I would say 15 feet off the main structure.
Okay, Adrian, that good for you?
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna need to
Yeah.
access it, but yeah, I mean, obviously as little as possible because it's
Yeah.
such a well-established site. You're not gonna get that back.
No. Okay, so everything you can do, John, to keep that at a real minimum.
Sure.
Okay. All right, 15 feet max towards dune. All right, no further comments?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to close the hearing. Whoops.
Oh, actually, sorry about that. I apologize. This project is going to be subject to National Heritage Endangered Species Program review. And I do not have
Oh.
anything back yet from Fish and Wildlife.
Okay, so we have to continue this.
Correct.
Okay, in that
Um,
case,
John, will you send me an updated plan with a limit of work?
Yes, well, it's basically, it's shown, but we will add that, the limit of work that John had requested. Yes, I'm making
Thanks.
notes of that. Yes.
Yeah. We don't have anything back. This permit was filed on October 6th. So their 30-day window hasn't passed yet.
okay. Okay. So we're waiting for that and for updating the limit of work. Okay, then unless there are any further comments, I will entertain a motion to continue this. Do you think November 4th is safe or should we
Yeah.
continue it out?
Yeah, if we don't hear from Fish and Wildlife by November 4th, then, I mean, that's not really fair.
Okay, all right. I will entertain a motion to continue this to the meeting of November 4th.
Charpentier moves to continue the project at 21 Wingershik Road, NOI 028-2738 to the meeting of November the 4th.
Gradwall seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes,
Commissioner Cook,
Yes,
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall. I see you there. Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
thank you. And Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
thanks.
okay. Has Mr. Geller returned?
okay,
Yeah.
this is Bill Cook. I have to recuse myself on this one.
Okay.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, so next up is notice of intent, 20, no DEP number for one, oh wait, before we do this, I hate to stop in midway. Have we got anything from Bill?
Bill's here. He's on.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
All right, so we can get back to him after. Okay. Next up is notice of intent for One Skipper Way, Russo, John Judd, Gateway Consulting, representing. Name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Last one tonight for me, but this is a proposed dwelling reconstruction at One Skipper Way. This is a buffer zone application with the wetlands body behind offsite on the property as shown on the GIS map that Adrian has shown there. So this is at the corner of Skipper Way and Bungalow Road. It's an existing cottage that is proposed to be replaced. The project has been approved through Zoning Board of Appeals. It was vetted through that board, and the neighbors have all been notified of this meeting as well as that meeting, and they have received the plan as part of the review package for ZBA. And so what we're looking to do is replace this structure. This would be a slab on grade due to the high groundwater out on this property. Those of you familiar with this area and this particular spot know that this is at the bottom of Skipper Way, a steep hill, and the water sort of makes its way down here. So we had shallow groundwater. So we are replacing the sewage disposal system with an advanced treatment system. And that I spoke to Craig LaPiccolo, the health agent, and that he's issuing that permit this week. And again, this is an upgrade for the sewage disposal system, which is currently in failure. And the proposed building as shown is obviously larger, but the reasoning for that is there is no ability to put a basement on this property because of the water table. So we are proposing to mitigate over 100% of the increase in impervious area shown on the plan with native landscaping and native shrubs as shown. And we do have a plant list and planting schedule associated with that area. All work would be lined with the state erosion control, and that we would have a pervious driveway as exists right now. This is all a pervious surface. So the increase in the building footprint would be accommodated by the the mitigation planting as shown on the plan, and can answer any questions that you have at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. My initial concern is that this has happened before. I mean, how many square feet of mitigation are we talking about, Mr. Chair?
1,300 square feet.
Okay. If the commissioners are okay with it, my concern is we're getting back to these large amounts, not just this project, but others, pretty significant planting areas, and whether or not we should be getting a planting plan prior to these projects. But let's let it go through the commission, see what they say. I don't know if you want to let's open it up for public comment. Anyone in the public is welcome to speak towards this project at One Skipper Way. So you can raise your hand with the raise your hand button or hit *9 if you're calling in. Adrian, do we see anyone?
I do not see any comments. And I want to point out, I did have someone from the public reach out to me in this way, and Zoom has recently added this question and answer feature to webinars. And I did answer the question on this particular occasion, but typically I'm not able to answer questions in that box. So unfortunately, if there are questions, procedural questions or things like that ongoing during the meeting, people will have to wait until the public comment period to try to ask those things. Thank you.
So what you're saying is right now there's a new thing for Zoom that people can put questions or comments in a box that you can see?
Yeah,
No
it's like it's a private chat, but that's not something that we would be able to execute or replicate during a public hearing. And so, and it also is another window that I have to try to monitor and likely cannot.
Understood.
So it would be best if everybody tried to avoid that. That's all.
So
Thanks.
again, I'll ask, is anybody in the public, if you're there and want to speak on the project at One Skipper Way, raise your hand, please, or *9 into the meeting. Seeing anyone?
There are no comments at this time.
Okay, then why don't we move on to roll call comments from the commission?
Sure. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments at this time.
Commissioner Cook, Oh, he's recused. I
He recu-
apologize. Commissioner
Recused.
Peter. You're muted.
Well, not now. No, but Rob, to answer your question about the comment, I think that it does vary, but in this case, since it's not Dune, it's just a buffer zone project, it may not be as applicable. However, since it's not 2-to-1 mitigation, it's just 100% mitigation, which is what, like 1 point, it's not quite 2-to-1, like which that standard is. I think that we do need to get one for that reason. If it was a 2-to-1 mitigation plan in place on a bordering veteran, wetland, I would be okay with it. But since it's not, and it's depicting the whole project on this mitigation, and it's an important part of it, I think we need to wait for more specific planting plan in this case.
Okay.
Commissioner Gradwell
No comment.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson
Not at this time, none.
and Co-Chairman Gullah. Background to you.
Okay, again, that was my only concern, is these are large planting areas, and, we've been trying to rein this in a little bit more from even prior to Adrian's tenure, to try and keep, it's just a lot of planting. So if we don't have a plan in place, I get nervous, that's all. But if the rest of the commission is not, again, John and I are obviously somewhat simpatico on this, but I wish other commissioners would chime in. I don't know if Anjo, they don't have to, but if someone else has a differing opinion or is in agreement with us, that would be helpful as we move forward with future projects with this relatively significant amount of planting and management of it. So it doesn't need to
Rob?
be. Yep.
It's Anjo here. I would support a planting plan for this. It is extensive.
Okay. Okay.
We have no problem supplying that by a professional landscape designer with the native plants of the choosing of the Russos. Is it possible to have that as a condition? That would be the only thing, so they can at least get the process going. Everyone's busy with their design work on that end. And certainly before any building permit is issued, after the appeal period, of course, we would have that plan ready for the commissioners and Adrian.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that.
No, me neither.
Okay.
I had a question for you on that though. So if it's the planting plan submitted, we'd like to usually determine if it's going to be an ecological benefit to the area. So if we just wait for you to submit it to the agent prior to the beginning of work, we as the commission are going to have an opportunity to review it. Is that a correct statement? So we can't put up 2 cents in, so to speak.
No, not at all. I have no problem getting it to the board digitally in these days of digital materials being submitted. We could certainly get it to Adrian well in advance, and then I don't know if she can disseminate that to the members.
I'll be fine with it as long as I have an opportunity to review it before. I don't want to put the onus of responsibility to determine if it's a good plan just on the agent. Is my point as well.
Sure. Yeah. No problem.
We should look at it.
I do think there's some validity in having it done by a professional.
Right. You're right. But at the same time, they say it in accordance to what the homeowner wants. So, there's a lot of variables there as well. So just some time to review would be great.
Right. Adrian, how do you feel about all this?
I think you can see me over here. So here is what we can do, what the commission can do. The commission can conditionally approve the project subject to the submission of a planting plan by design with a professional landscape designer before the issuance of any building permits.
Okay.
The commission cannot review, comment on, or ask for changes to that planting plan after the order has been issued.
Yeah.
So what we receive as a submission is the planting plan.
Right.
And you do not have the opportunity to negotiate. Now, having said that, with respect to planting plans, if the planting plan is offering native species planting or like-for-like planting for the habitat area that are non-invasive. The commission does not have jurisdiction over what people decide to put in their gardens.
Right. Okay. So, but we could state that, you know, obviously we're going to use native plantings and whatnot, but could we get into, I guess the only tricky part here would be then for this, and I appreciate your patience, Mr. Judd. But should we get into percentage of coverage? I guess my concern is that that's my only concern, and not that this project wouldn't do it right. I just get concerned because we're trying to again get back control of these planting plans that we were losing a little bit of control of for a while there, and basically allow for or set down rules and regs if they aren't already in place. I believe there's some sort of 75% coverage rule prior to in a notice of intent. I just get nervous that if this comes in and it's sparse, that would be a concern for me. And we can't, like you say, is we really can't go back. It would obviously be against the open meeting laws to go back, or against the regulations to go back and try and negotiate after the fact. So how do we do that? Allow this to move forward, allow the planting plan to move forward, but protect the interests of the act in the sense that we get a good lush planting plan, I guess.
Understood. If I could just speak to that, on the mitigation notes we have in the middle lower half of the plan, we do have some suggested native plants as typical for the saltwater area. But if you can sort of see on the left, if you go to the other side, yep, the other way. Mitigation notes right there. So we,
That's what happens.
right there. So we have some suggested native plants that are common to the area. Obviously, the switch grasses and the short juniper, bearberry, bayberry, as well as beach plum and so forth. But as you know, we have typically a 2-season mortality requirement for these planting plans before the occupancy, well, I should say before the certificate of compliance is given. And Adrian, as the agent, has the ability to say this is just not adequate when she does her inspections. And I can assure you that the Russos are quite anxious to do a nice job with the landscaping and making it a nice buffer there. They understand it. I was explained to them when we have such an increase in impervious area that this is what we need to do, and they're fully aware of it, and they're excited to do a nice job with the landscaping.
Okay. All right. I don't know if we want to do a roll call one more time, I would say through the commissioners, Adrian, to just see if they have any more comments for or against this, allowing it to move forward with a planting plan.
Sure. Commissioner Charpentier.
I just want to say I'm good with moving forward with the planting plan.
Commissioner Cook. Oh, Commissioner Cook is recused. Commissioner Feener.
So first of all, the only thing about the planting plan as listed to me is that sometimes a native species is listed and people often purchase a hybrid of that or a separate variety of that. And in this case, that cannot be allowed. So it has to be true, just pure Latin names, no additional varieties on this end. That's one stipulation I would have to have, because I will, I can't tell you what to plant, but I can enforce the part that it can't be a separate variety that could be invasive moving forward. And then second of all, you have there on the planting plan that every plant would be 3 to 4 feet apart. However, you should base that on mature size of plant material and then figure out where the locations are based on height. Some might be 5 feet at mature height, some might be 2. And you need to plant those based on their mature height, not just in a standard 3 to 4 foot grid.
Sure.
Okay.
Commissioner Gradwell.
No further comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
I think we can, as part of that condition, specify that the landscape designer provide maximum coverage within planting guidelines.
Okay. And co-chair Mangala.
Okay, yeah, I feel comfortable now with the agent helping us see the edges to what we can and cannot do. And with John's comments and Joe's comments, I think I feel comfortable now with the project. So that's good. So with that then, can I get, unless someone has any other comments to add, a motion to close the hearing?
Jackson moves to close the hearing for One Skipper Way, NOI 028. Do we have a DEP number?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I don't.
2737.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
He's recused.
Oh, recused, I'm sorry. Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chair Mangala.
Yes. You're all set, sir. Have a good night.
We haven't,
Oh,
we
thank
haven't
you.
actually,
I haven't done
we
that.
haven't voted yet.
Yep.
With that,
We
can we get a
haven't voted,
motion
Rob.
to approve with that, can we get a motion to approve, Joe?
Yes, Jackson moves to approve the project NOI 0282737 at One Skipper Way, conditionally based upon the condition that a planting plan by a professional landscape designer be submitted that specifies native plantings and two-season mortality and providing maximum coverage of the area within planting guidelines.
Charpentier
done.
seconds.
Roll call vote.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook. Oh,
He
I'm
recused
sorry.
again.
I think he apparently is not allowed to do that. Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chair Mangala.
Yes.
Planting guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
You too. Okay.
I'm
Next.
back.
Mr. One
Thank you,
skip.
Bill.
We have one skip.
Do we want to go back to?
Thank God you're back.
Do we want to go back to King Philip Road?
We can. I know we have a lot of people waiting, and in fact, if
Which
Ms.
one?
Sullivan will, I mean, a lot of attendees, I think, are interested in hearing the outcome of this project. And
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Bree Sullivan, for humoring us and allowing us to hear this project first. Her project is also going to be a lot to chew on, so I appreciate it.
Which one is that?
It is Concord Street for the
Oh,
for the Gloucester DPW. Thanks, Bree.
So we're going to go back to notice of intent 28-2732, 28 King Philip Road, Surratt, Bill Manuel at Wetlands Land Management representing.
Good evening, folks. Adrian, I sent you an email requesting to continue this matter tonight.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, well, that probably doesn't surprise.
Yeah, I know. I'm not shocked either.
How far would you like to continue, Bill?
I would say, let's continue 1 month, please.
Okay, that will be November 18.
Okay, so with that then, can we get a motion to continue the project, Joe?
Yes, Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282732, 28 King Philip Road to the meeting of November 18th, 2020.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you to all of our viewers tonight for your hour that you are not going to get back. That is all.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Next up, notice of intent. We're at notice
Yeah.
of intent. Do we have a DEP number for 330 Concord Street or no?
Yes, we do. 2739.
2739. So for the project, notice of intent project 28-2739, 330 Concord Street, Gloucester DPW, Bree Sullivan at Bayside Engineering representing.
So good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Name and address for the record.
My name is Bree Sullivan. I'm with Bayside Engineering. And I look frozen on the screen. I don't know if that's just me. Interesting. There I am.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
My name is Bree Sullivan. I'm with Bayside Engineering, and we were retained to do the plans and to do the analysis, design, and plans for the replacement of this bridge. So a little background. Many of the bridges that we do are on rivers, non-tidal rivers. We do tidal bridges as well. I have intimate experience with tidal estuaries and tidally affected rivers because I grew up on the, depending on which map you look at, the Dead Creek or the Blackwater River in Salisbury. So my house was right on the marsh. And so I'm intimately familiar with how a poor bridge design can irreversibly affect landward properties. The background on that project is the 286 bridge was replaced, it was widened, and our yard got flooded every time we had an astronomical tide thereafter. So now if you go through that neighborhood that I used to live in, there is a berm around all the properties, 10th, 11th, 12th Street in Salisbury on off of Atlantic, North End Boulevard, I'm sorry. So anyway, before I get into how I analyze this and the reasons why we chose what we chose, I just wanted you to be aware that I am very familiar at how small changes in a design can affect people pretty seriously. So that being said, Bayside Engineering was originally chosen to inspect this bridge several years ago. I was one of the inspectors. And if you walk across it or if you drive across it, it doesn't seem like it's too bad. Bridges that use wooden stringers aren't necessarily as bad as you might think. Wood is not a terrible bridge material. It's got some advantages actually over steel. Obviously, in a brackish environment, wood does not corrode. It does rot, but the superstructure, which is where the wooden stringers are, is really not the problem with this bridge. So the current superstructure is a welded gridded deck on several wooden, treated wooden beams on concrete capped ashlar granite masonry abutments. And I don't recall, I'm fairly certain that this is dry laid. It may have had some concrete between the ashlar masonry, but typically if it did, it probably didn't last very long in this environment. So it was probably a dry laid abutment, which in and of itself is actually not that bad. The problem that we have at this location is the footings that the bridge is founded on. And so what appears to have happened is over time, the currents as well as the chemical makeup and the fact that it's brackish degraded the footings at this location. And we were quite surprised when we inspected the bridge to find that the footing is worn away in several locations. And if not for the redundancy of the the method of the foundation, this bridge would be in much more serious shape. So with that, we applied to the state on behalf of the town under their small bridge replacement program. So this falls under the small bridge replacement program because it's between 10 and 20 feet. The span of this crossing right now is approximately 14, 15 feet, somewhere in there. So it was accepted as a good candidate for that program, which essentially gives the town funds to repair this bridge. They give money towards the repair and the engineering design for this bridge. I believe the grant was $500,000 at this site. So as you can see from the photos, the footings aren't the only issue, of course. We have the northwest wing wall, which has collapsed a few times, mainly because of where it sits relative to the Walker's Creek. When the tide floods or the tide comes in, this wing wall is actually on the outside of the bend. So when the tide is coming in or flooding, the currents will basically impact right at this northwest wing wall. So that kind of erosion action really is really hard on an area like that. So yeah, if you zoom in there, you can see the bend of the yeah, there you go. So you can see it comes around the bend, and currents typically have a tendency to be on the outside of the bend. And so it basically runs right into that wall. So that's one of the contributing factors to why that northwest wing wall has had problems. So what we did when we explored the bridge site is we did a full survey, did some different investigations. One of the things we did is we did borings here, geotechnical borings to determine what the soil structure is under the bridge. And much to my amazement, it's probably the only location in Gloucester that doesn't have ledge. I literally can't believe that we didn't hit ledge. We went down 60 feet on one of the borings and didn't hit ledge.
Wow.
It's like a huge crevasse in Gloucester. It's the only place in Gloucester.
Wow.
So, I actually years ago worked, and I'm dating myself. I worked a little bit on the E1 source system in town. So I'm dating myself there. I know that was many years ago. So I'm very aware with the geological conditions. So I was quite surprised, which really kind of affected how we had to design the bridge. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So prior to doing any of that, I did a hydraulic analysis of the area in conjunction with investigating the tides in historical record. And I'm sure that people who live near the bridge are acutely aware of the January 4th, 2018 storm that's marked on that telephone pole in photo number 2. It's actually on the other face of the telephone pole. And there is a photo of it there.
Oh.
It's probably, the nail in the telephone pole is probably 2 feet above the roadway elevation. So it's quite a serious condition. And so what I did was I did an analysis of the tides. And so a little background on that. So this crossing is located far enough upstream that we call it a tidally influenced crossing. So we have two parts to the flow. We have a tidal flow that obviously flows in both directions. And we also have a river flow, which is from the Walker's Creek River. And so those two things may or may not coincide. So I had to do a number of analyses to see which was the worst case scenario. What we did when we analyzed the tides and the elevations, the reason why we do that is we really want to look at scour. We want to make sure that we design so that what has happened to these footings is not going to happen again. And so when we put a bridge in there, it's going to stay there. So basically what happens with a tide, unlike a river, when you increase the depth in a river because of increased rainfall or increased flooding, generally the flow increases at a proportional rate. With tides, when you get to your highest point in the tide, there's no flow. So at high tide, when it slackens, there's really no current happening. It's turning around. There's a little bit of current because you have the water wanting to flow out and you have the water wanting to flow in. So it's kind of a different analysis that we have to do. So the strongest currents will occur at mid tide. So, or the greatest rate of change over time, the tidal change. So what happens is when you have an astronomical tide, because the difference between the high tide and the low tide, or the mid tide for that matter, is greater, we have higher currents during that time. And so the analysis showed, of course, that the highest current that we actually encountered was during the highest measured tide. So basically what we did is we looked at a number of combinations, and the combination that we choose for locations like this is the 500-year tidal storm surge. And so as you know, living near a creek like this, there are a couple of factors. There's normal tides that are caused by lunar effects. And then there's a tide associated with the storm surge, which is an increase in the tide. Depending on where you are, it can be worse, less or worse. So in this location, since we have this great record of January 4th, 2018, that's a good measured indication. But what we also did is we also looked at the extreme tides measured at the Boston gauge, because that has the longest recorded tides out of all of the tide gauges. So we looked at all of these different tides, and actually the January 4th event was not the most extreme event that we designed for. Looking at the combinations, we actually have the 500-year tidal plus the 50-year riverine tide, which means a 500-year tide and a 50-year runoff storm. And so typically for this type of crossing, because it's a local road, we would only use the 10-year riverine flow to design the bridge. But the combination of the tidal and the riverine, it's really not going to make much of a difference. Now, one of the things we looked at here is what would happen if we changed the opening. So I don't think it's any surprise if you look upstream and downstream, there are massive scour holes, which says that the bridge is undersized. When the tide comes in and goes out, it has to squeeze through the opening, so the velocity increases and creates scour on the upstream and downstream sides. So you have this great widening of the creek, and then once it slows down enough, it will narrow back to its normal width, upstream and downstream. So one of the things we like to do is we like to look to see if we can fix that without impacting properties, of course. And this is a good picture of it here. And as you can see, the landward side is actually, well, I guess they're about the same when when it's flooded, the water area is about the same. So we want to look and see if we could correct that. Unfortunately, if you look at the flood map, this crossing is such a restriction that the ocean wood, or the ocean side of the crossing, the elevation is actually, the flood elevation is actually 13. And on the landward side, the elevation is actually 10. So there's a 3-foot difference. Now, there's some question to, and I wasn't able to find the background calculations for this, but I think the reason why that's 13 is it has to do with wave runup, which we don't get at this location. I think they just carried it from further north. And strangely enough, to the west of this site, there is actually a line where it jumps down to 10. And it's part of this same tributary. So there was some further analysis done, and you can't see it here. It's in the flood map. So that kind of lends a little credence to the fact that it's probably not elevation 13 on this side, but we go with what the federal regulations say, so we use the 13. So now, interestingly enough, the roadway and the bridge crossing is approximately elevation 10. In fact, the intersection is elevation 8. So the bridge sits at about elevation 10 or elevation 9, the existing bridge. And then you go down, basically down gradient to the intersection. And the intersection is actually lower. So interestingly enough, when we have the tidal change, when it changes from when it's high tide and it starts ebbing, it actually flows across the intersection first. So that's where the greatest relief comes from. So because the other thing that we look at when we look at these areas is, do we want to raise this structure? Do we want to get it out of the water? So, and of course, the issue with that is if we raise the structure, it's not going to do a bit of good because the intersection is going to be flooded. And if we raise the intersection too, well, what we're actually doing is we're creating a larger dam here, which is a larger issue in and of itself, where we're stopping a lot of the flow at the higher flows, and we could adversely impact the salt marsh on the southern side of the street. So there are a lot of factors at play here, a lot of variables, and they all really point to we have to do an in-kind replacement with respect to the hydraulic opening. So in an effort to minimize impacts, we just determined that widening the road is not advisable. Now, I understand that this is a tough location. The current roadway width in the vicinity of the bridge, let's say within 50 feet of the bridge, is about 15 feet wide. So you're not going to fit 2 cars. You can barely fit a car and a pedestrian without feeling like you want to jump in the water. Widening the roadway here would incur severe salt marsh impacts, and fairly certain the commission would not appreciate that. So we're basically proposing to replace what we have here basically in kind with respect to dimensions. And so the opening under the bridge is going to be 14, 15 feet, somewhere in there. And the width of the roadway is going to be around 14, 15, 16 feet, somewhere in there. Basically what you see now is what it'll look like after we're done with respect to dimensions. With the only caveat being that the northwest wing wall has kind of taken on its own life over there, and we're actually going to correct some of that because we're going to put a proper wall in, and there will be some scour protection there for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. So that quadrant we're hoping to do, to kind of undo a little of what's fallen into the and in this case, it's the land underwater. There is no salt marsh on that side. So with respect to proposed structure, what we're looking at, and I have to look at take a look at the bridge plan. So you have in your, with the materials that I submitted, there's an environmental plan, which is what we're looking at now. And then there is a bridge plan set, which is the set that we send to Mass DOT for approval, for structural approval, which is called the Chapter 85 process. And so, and this is not the right plan. And so let's take a look at this. I apologize, I should be better prepared.
Right?
Right.
You're making a lot of noise. That's all I heard, baby.
Is it? Bree, is this it?
Okay. So the proposal is to remove the existing structure in its entirety. So essentially what happens in cases like this where we have to control for the tide is they would come in and they would put a cofferdam of some sort to block the water from the construction area. And in fact, with crossings like this, that really is the largest single expense, is controlling that water, obviously. And so what we're looking at doing is replacing everything right down to the foundation. And so that's going to require a cofferdam, removing the existing material. So with roadways and crossings like this, depending on when they were constructed for the Wetlands Protection Act, oftentimes what they do is they just push stuff out into the marsh, and they keep pushing until they got to the place where they wanted to make the crossing. They build the crossing. So there could be all kinds of unsuitable material there. It can get very it can get very in depth when they get in there to start digging out the material. They could find all kinds of things. And so the plan is to rebuild the substructure with reinforced concrete, especially treated to handle the brackish environment. There's a few things they do to the concrete to make it more durable. And then to put a new superstructure on the bridge, and then the standard bridge rails that will withstand a vehicular impact and keep them out of the resource area. So pretty much the typical bridge rails that you're used to seeing on Mass DOT projects. The color can be chosen. The color can be chosen by the municipality. There are a few that can be chosen. A few choices that you can make with respect to that. I mean, typically green is what people typically like to use in these areas. With respect to the resource areas, so at this site, I don't think it's any surprise, we have salt marsh. We also have land subject to coastal storm flowage, and we have riverfront area for the Walker's Creek. There's riverfront area, land underwater, and bank. And so the nature of replacing a crossing is working in a resource area. So probably the only really impacted area, the two impacted areas really are the land underwater and the salt marsh. And so the plan is to basically restore the salt marsh after construction. And you can see that marked here on this plan. The land underwater is marked in purple, and the salt marsh temporary impact is marked in green. And let's see here. And then the red line on either side would be the approximate location of the bank. And let's see. So if you could go to the next page. So the proposal is to replace the structure and then restore the salt marsh. And so on that plan, you can see the details of the salt marsh restoration plan. And so you're probably familiar that salt marsh has this very specific number of plants in this area, the specific species of plants, depending on where in the marsh it is: low marsh, high marsh, transitional, upland. And these species should be very familiar. I actually did identify these species at this site. And so the plan would be to either locally source the replacements or harvest the replacements before the construction and then replant them during the appropriate time during the year for the best success. We also have in here a specification for soil if we need to provide additional soil. Typically in these locations, a sandy, the sandy mixture will work fine. The details are on this plan here. And there's also a narrative. There's a salt marsh restoration narrative in the notice of intent documentation. But there will be a requirement that a wetland specialist who has specific experience in salt marshes in this area will supervise that portion of the project. And so that's basically my presentation.
I must say, I was going to cut you off a couple of times, but it all came together at the end and very well.
Great. That's good to hear.
I had a whole list of questions and I was writing them. You kept answering them. It's kind of creeped me out. So, okay. I think the first step here would probably, we should get public comment. So anyone from the public who wishes to speak towards the project at 330 Concord Street, the bridge replacement, as it relates to conservation issues, you know, road elevations and things like that, and is really not our cup of tea here unless it's going to impact resources. So I don't know if there are any hands raised at this time.
There are, in fact.
Good.
Gina Sargent. Go ahead.
It's saying she's still, oh, there she goes.
Hi, this is Dave Sargent. Gina's my wife. This project or this area has been identified when we were with Mass Bays and looked at title restrictions. And this is still going to be a title restricted area. As the applicant talked about with the scouring on both sides, I would sort of recommend that to the west side, it be open larger, so there'd be less scouring. I also note that this area is also land containing shellfish. Underneath the bridge itself, there was European oysters, and just downstream there was soft-shell clams. So I think there's an omission there, and it's an opportunity that the city has to actually restore a very unique environment between this crossing and the Walker Street crossing. Surprisingly, there's very little freshwater impact to vegetation. This is a very unique area. It's an ACEC, and I encourage you to not let this opportunity escape us.
And the opportunity being opening up one side, is that?
Yeah, particularly towards the west, towards the east, there's more salt marsh. And to the west, it's scoured quite a bit on both sides. And, you know, I'm not surprised that, you know, doing a great deal of soil evaluations in that area, that, you know, the applicant encountered a wash material, because essentially that's what's there.
I'm sorry, sir. Did we get your address as well? Your name and address?
Dave Sargent, 637 Essex Avenue.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Please raise your hand. Or if you're calling in, hit *9. Can't hear you, Adrian. You're shut off now. You're back.
Not at this time. There is no one on. I do want to point out, just as a follow-up to Mr. Sargent's comments, the application was sent off to DMF and we have no comment from DMF yet. So we'll be waiting for that regardless.
Okay. And this is a bigger question, and I don't know if it could be answered tonight. I think I could argue, I mean, it was a very well done presentation, but should we be looking potentially towards third-party review for something like this, in your opinion, Adrian, or you think we have enough to work with here?
I think we have enough to start with.
Okay.
I can say that. This is a city project. So for the commission to elect to go to third-party review on a project where the city is the applicant, the commission is asking the city to assume the cost of a review. And so I think what we should do is wait for some state comment to come back from DMF, especially with regard to what their thoughts are. We can also certainly ask the local shellfish constable to comment on the matter and take those into consideration. This is very much a gray engineer project. I absolutely agree. And there may be space for restoration as opposed to strictly a engineered solution. But I think the early digestion here is the effort for the hearing tonight.
Okay, thank you. So anyone else have their hand up?
No, that is all.
Okay, so I'll seeing none, hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public comment period. I don't know if you want Ms. Sullivan to give a brief response to that gentleman's concerns, or you can just say not at this time until you've had time to evaluate what he said. It's up to you.
So I can concur that, I will concur that this is in fact an ACEC. It's the Great Marsh ACEC. Did I get that right? I don't have it in front of me.
It's
the land is not designated as National Heritage Shellfish Land. It's not there. It's not designated as national NHESP designated habitat. So any findings of European oysters and soft shell clams may come from DFW, but it's not National Heritage. I can tell you that.
Okay. He has some other points in there we won't go over now. We still have a little bit to do with this, I'm sure, review-wise. There's a lot here to think about. So why don't we go do commissioner comments, roll call?
Comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
Not at this time.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, I have a question in regards to the coffer dams that you mentioned that would have to be installed. Are we talking about coffer dams on both sides to block the complete flowage, or left or right? I'm just trying to get my hands around how the construction sequence would be taking place on this.
So absolutely not. We would not block the flow. I mean, that would be completely against the regulations. We're going to have to maintain flow landward at all times. It can't be obstructed. So it would be left and right. There would be some bracing between that would be below the stream bed to get that. I mean, they may have to temporarily block it while they're installing that. And when I say temporary, I mean not for a week. It would be a very short period just to get that installed and then open it back up again. I don't even know if they would block it for more than a day for that, whatever it takes. But definitely not across the creek. It would be on the east and the west and allow it to flow through.
And the road would be closed during this construction, you would assume, correct?
It would absolutely have to be closed at either end, yes. So, where when you go to the west, there's I think there's a fork in the road there where it could be closed there to local traffic only. And then of course at this intersection that we're looking at here in photo 2.
Okay. Bill,
Yeah.
did you get your question answered?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing, whether they're going to do, one side and then the other side, or do, both left and right at the same time. And then do something in the middle afterwards. I mean, I'd like to see that sequence of how they're going to do that.
So that's means and methods, and that would be up to the contractor. Personally, I would like to see it one side at a time, but I think with the height of this, the amount of bracing that's going to be required to withstand the tide shift, they may actually need the bracing across the channel, but that's up to the contractor to come up with the method that works for them. But there will be in the specifications that river flow must be maintained at all times.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Feener.
I had a couple of comments and one question. But first, the question is that you, in your presentation earlier on, you alluded to the word current, the highest current is based on the astronomical high tide, so the way it meets at the medium. But the current, and that's our curiosity, is that just the volume of water, which I know is high, or is it also increase the velocity of water, or is it both of those things mixed together to create the current, as you alluded to in your presentation?
So when I analyze this crossing, what I look at is the difference in water elevation upstream and downstream. So what happens is with the astronomical tides, when I say downstream, I mean ocean side and landward side. And on the ocean side, you have the water elevation falling away at a faster rate than the upstream side, so the difference is higher. So what happens is when the velocity under the structure is a function of the difference in the upstream and the downstream elevation. So when you have that astronomical tide, there is a greater difference between the upstream.
Oh, I get you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so
And
it doesn't no effect of the volume of water. It's a difference in heights of water, and that creates a higher velocity because of gravitational pulls and such. Is that pretty much what you're saying?
Yeah, it really comes down to the difference in depths upstream and downstream. When that gets bigger, then the velocity is much higher.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you for that. And so another question I had though for the project is that your design, there's going to be drained. There's already, water flow going off the edges. I saw an area fixed that had, washouts. So is there going to be direct discharge into the water after as part of your design for the bridge? And if it is it a method in there to help control any contaminants, salting from, snow removal projects or any other contaminants? Is there any kind of protection design in your plan as of today?
So there isn't. We did not put any sort of treatment devices for that. The area is really limited. I don't know if there are options for that. I do want, when you mention that, something I did come to mind is people who see this bridge during high flood events know that it's submerged. And so what we do in these cases is we design the bridge to withstand those forces, so that the deck is actually fixed to the abutments in a manner that will withstand the currents that we expect will happen there. We actually engineer for that. But with regards to treatment from roadway runoff, we don't, in this type of situation, we wouldn't, because it's minimal. But so in this case, there would be no change in what happens today to what would happen once it's replaced.
Okay, no, I think that's something we can ask the city to do just by putting a sign up that says no, no salting in this area. If we feel as a commission that is it going to be an issue, but I just thought I asked the question at this point, and thank you for answering that. And my last point was, I believe that Dave Sargent, the comment was, used to be our constable, shellfish constable. That's the same Dave Sargent. Sounded like
Yes.
him. And I wanted to state for the record that in accordance with the law, he has been away from his office, retired long enough that he is able to speak legally forward against this project because the time frame has elapsed. I wanted to mention that too.
Okay. Who's next?
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Not at this time.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
No more comments. I think it was again a very good presentation. But I think we just need a little more time with this. We'll probably continue for the next meeting unless there's, I know it's not in good condition, but I think we just need to, we got a lot of good information. We need to absorb it, look at it. I think I agree with John. I am concerned about runoff being dealt with in some form or fashion. And Mr. Sargent's comments about any opportunities we can grab here while we have this unfortunate situation that could we, launch something off this that helps the environment rather than just make it better the same. could we do something better? And it doesn't have to be extreme. Maybe it is just managing stormwater, or as
Mhm.
simple as John says, signs. But it was a very good presentation. I think we should continue for further discussion, review on our own, and bring it back in November.
So I do want to add that, any changes to the opening would require reanalysis. And if the opening is made larger, which would really be the only reason that you would change the opening, it would probably require a much more extensive landward side analysis to be sure that we're not going to adversely affect anybody's private property upstream. So, and that, that's the largest concern is that when you do something like this. And I was a direct, whatever the opposite of beneficiary would be to this exact situation. And that's why I'm very sensitive to that for the people who are on the landward side. And that's why I brought that up.
But you're not suggesting it can't be done. You're just saying it would require more calculations and redesign potentially.
It would quite extensive. And, we kind of stop when we see elevation 13 on the Oceanwood side and elevation 10 on the landward side. That's telling us something very definitive that this structure is definitely limiting the flooding on the landward side. So we kind of stopped there. And the scour holes suggest that there is definitely a restriction here that, and I understand that what I'm saying is this has adversely affected the whether it's shellfish beds there, the entire life of the structure. And I do understand that that's significant, and the commission's responsibility is to protect and improve that if they can. But we don't want to do that at the expense of private property damage. So that's, and so the answer is, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it would definitely be expensive to investigate that.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
I guess lastly, Adrian, do you have any other comments you'd like to make? I think you're muted. I think you got to unmute yourself.
Not right now. I do want to.
Wait for information to come in.
Yeah, well, we have to hear from the Division of Marine Fisheries. And I think it would help the commission to also have documented that local knowledge from via the Shellfish Constable on the creek itself.
Okay. Okay, then with that, again, we appreciate your time, Ms. Sullivan, but we're going to continue this. Do we want to do it to the next meeting, Adrian, or how quickly do you expect this info to come in?
Well, the Division of Marine Fisheries, similar to National Heritage, on Winger Street, the division has 30 days. In this case, they may use their 30 days. So I wonder, Ms. Sullivan, if you would entertain the idea of November 18.
I would. It won't be me. It'll be someone else.
Okay.
So, and that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. The application was filed on the 6th of October, and so that means that it was postmarked for the Division of Marine Fisheries that same day, and then the division will have until November 6th to respond, and they may take that time in this particular case. So I think safely, and for the sake of your time and the city's time commitment to you, November 18, at least we will know everything will be tied up, and you'll have the opportunity to respond if any comments come up before then.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right, then, and Joe, do you want to put forth a motion to continue the project?
Certainly. I move to continue NOI 028. Do we have a DP number?
Yes, we do.
And it is
2739.
2739. Okay. NOI 0282739, 330 Concord Street, to the meeting of November 18th.
Carpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Next up,
Okay,
amendment.
coming back
28
online.
Whoop.
Here's Bill.
28-2674, 21 River Road, Singer, Bill Manuel at Wetlands and Land Management representing.
Good evening. Geez, I apologize about that King Philip, Adrian. At the time, probably when you were saying, hey, Bill, you have anything to say? I was having computer problems here and not getting any audio. So,
Oh, it's okay.
anyway, I'm sorry those people had to wait around.
We just do what we can.
21 River Road, nothing as complicated as that last hearing. This should be fairly simple. The commission issued an order of conditions to do a little home renovation last year, and that is essentially complete. And now the owners would like to replace a small deck and patio that they have. They have a small deck that comes out of their kitchen and a few steps down onto a flagstone and mortar patio. And what they would like to do is take up the impervious patio, remove the small deck, and replace it with a new pervious deck. It would basically cover what's there now. It would be one larger deck at the same level. So there is a site plan in front of you. The red outline on the site plan is the new deck, and you can see encompassed in that is the old deck and the stone patio. This actually, when you approved the order of conditions last year, the project resulted in 150 square feet of new rooftop area. And so there are two areas of mitigation shown totaling 300 square feet. And, but our project, our request for an amendment is actually going to take away 92 square feet of that impervious patio, but we're not going to touch the mitigation. So you're actually going to get a little bit more bonus. We'll just do the complete mitigation that you approved. There's, again, zoomed in, there's the red outline of the new deck with the stairs down to grade. Lobster Cove and the Annisquam River are directly to the right of that, as you see, and that sort of straight diagonal line is a masonry seawall. It sticks up above grade about 18 inches, so it is the perfect erosion control barrier for the a couple of probably 3 or 4 sonotube holes that have to be dug. So fairly low impact. Over to the left side of the plan, you can see some pictures there, and you can see the existing deck and the stone patio with the wall, and there's some Rugosa rose along the wall. There's stone under the existing deck. That's what that middle photograph shows. And they'll do the same treatment under the enlarged deck. They'll just take out that patio and put some crushed stone there. Everything becomes pervious. And then the second part of this amendment request is they'd like to extend there's a wood privacy fence between this site and the yacht club. It's at the very bottom of the plan. And they'd like to extend the fence by 12 feet, and that would give them a little privacy, because right now the boat launch for the yacht club is directly on the other side of that fence. And it's got some great views right into their picture window, into their living room. So they just want to extend that fence 12 feet. The current fence sits on a granite block wall, and so that will continue, just push that out another 12 feet. And so actually no impact to the ground surface. So you get a little bit of improvement here with this project. You get 92 square feet less impervious surface. We'll keep the original amount of mitigation, and hopefully you'll see your way to an amendment here.
Okay, first off, why don't we see if there's any anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the amendment for 21 River Road? If so, please put your hand up. There's a button on your screen to put your hand up. Or if you're on the phone, *9. Do we see anyone, Adrian?
There are no comments at this time.
Okay, then. Why don't we do roll call? I don't really see any issues at this time, so I would pass a roll call for comments from the commission.
Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Feener,
So I just thought I was curious, the patio that presently there, you're classifying as impervious, but on other plans, I've seen just be called, pervious because it has spaces in between the stones with sand and vegetation coming out of. So I think it's kind of funny that you term it based on your needs. I don't know if you per se, if I've seen it over the history, and I kind of want to make that point. That being said, the vegetation that's going to be covered is not going to live past it. Like some of the rosa and some of the other shrubs there on the right side. So, I know you're going to do mitigation and, keep the other mitigation, but I want to make sure that it's understood that there's going to be some mortality of pre-existing shrubs. And I don't know if you really truly want to consider that an impervious surface. I guess we have to go by what was originally accepted on the prior plan. I don't know if it's delineated on that plan but that's what we have to go by. And the second question I have is that on the fence, you said 12 feet. However, most fences come 6 feet section, you add 2 posts. So you're gonna custom make this fence, or it's gonna be a little bit more than 12 feet?
The owner says 12 feet, and so that's what they will install.
Okay, so it's fence. I thought most fences come 6 feet sections, and then you have to add the post in, so, all right.
Right, and I'd just like to point out that there is mortar in between those flagstones. That's why it's characterized as impervious.
There's also stuff growing out of them too. So I was just curious. I didn't know what it was based on an original plan that was submitted by you prior to this, since that's what we have to go by, since it's an amendment to that original project. So I didn't know if you knew that offhand or not. Was it on the original plan submitted for this NOI? Was it that listed as an impervious or pervious surface on that plan?
I seen the original plan. I don't think there was that much level of detail because the work was not in this area.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, next.
Mr. Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comments.
Thank you.
So with that, then, if there are no more comments, should we put a motion together to close the hearing on this? Are we looking to approve? I don't see any major obstacles other than maybe a few caveats from John when he gets his turn, but I'm okay with this. Adrian, did you have any issues with this?
No, I don't have any concerns. I also want to point out fencing is an exempt activity. It's considered a minor activity in the interest of the act.
Excellent. Okay, then can we get a roll call vote for the closing of the hearing?
Jackson moves to close the hearing for amendment 0282674.
Charpentier seconds.
A roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Gullah. I mean, so
That's
look at it.
I've been called worse.
With love, all the love. Co-Chairman
Well, for
Gullah.
the first and last time I'm called a woman. Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
So now can we put forth a motion to approve?
Jackson moves to approve the amendment 0282674 21 River Road.
Ms. Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Manuel. Have a good night.
Oh, we'll see him next. We'll be seeing him again. We're not finished.
Oh, I only had till the amendment.
No, we have. Bill, are you still on? Yeah, you better stay on. There is a
Sure.
amended order of conditions. I mean, oh my God, extension permit request. So I will show you here at the top.
I mean, I
Posted,
got mine off the website. Did it change today?
yes, I have to post a revised agenda day of meeting these days.
Oh,
The commission does not have a continued business deadline, which means that anybody who has consent permit request, which would be an extension permit or request for certificate of compliance, the very rare case that we hear a minor mod, or any, other items or an emergency cert, something like that, they can come right in until 2 p.m. basically. And the only reason that that deadline exists is because the city clerk's office holds the line for 2 p.m. to post same day agendas. And what has been happening, because I'm not in the office and my clerk is not there on Friday, typically we have always communicated Friday, close of business for the city is the deadline for continued business items. And that gives me the opportunity to post an agenda and all of you to have the chance to review it on the weekend.
mhm.
However, there is no one in the office on Fridays. So mail that is received on Friday is not even seen until Monday. And it continues to come in. And there's not a lot I can do to hold that at this time.
No, that's fine.
In
I just-
2021, the commission can agree to firm deadline for continued business as
Okay.
that Friday.
All righty.
There are two more items. There's the extension permit request and a request for certificate of compliance at the very bottom here. And I will have our representatives describe them because they both know the projects better than I do because they're before my time.
Okay.
Okay, I wasn't aware that this was going to be on, these extension permits. I just kind of mailed it in, but as long as we're all here, let's talk about 644 Essex Avenue. Recall, this was a project where the commission, I can't even remember now if the commission appealed it or denied this project, but anyway, we got a
We
superseding.
denied
order.
it, you superseded it. It was superseded by
Yep,
DEP.
and then we came back and the commission issued a local permit.
Correct.
And so the work has been underway, sort of stop and start for the last year or so. There were conditions that are incorporated in both the superseding order and the local order for specific monitoring requirements. Those have been underway when work is ongoing. And I've been submitting, previously submitted weekly reports to Ken Whitaker and then more recently to Adrian when work was ongoing. So anyway, the house, the area's been cleared, the well's been installed. The foundation area has been excavated and now stabilized. And so we're not going to get, this order of conditions is going to expire in August. However, the state's order of conditions expires in February of 2021. We figured that since we're talking about one, we might as well move to extend the other. So we're asking for a 2-year extension on this to be able to finish the work out on this project.
Okay. Commissioners' comments?
So my question is, are we gonna continue it, extend it from both dates or just one date? Are we gonna join them together and say, extend it from the February date or wherever it was, or are we gonna do 2 separate votes and extend each one separately? Because there's 2 order conditions. Are we gonna start moving them together the way we look at this, or I mean, I don't know what we're looking at exactly. I understand what we're doing, but it's just such a time frame, such a wide variety of time. And it makes sense to get them both done at the same time. I agree. Do we have to treat them as separate items, or do we point them together with one date? I don't know what the answer is.
John, you're only considering GWO 18-01. I've submitted a separate request to the DEP to extend the superseding order of conditions.
Okay, all right, no, because I'm sorry, I was reading that letter received, and you said simultaneously, so simultaneous aspect of that is your separate letter. Okay, perfect, thank you. I was a little confused by the letter. Thank you for clarifying.
My
So
only
I would
comment,
like it extended 2 years from August of 2021.
Right, okay. So we're just voting on the one that expires here today, February 2021. Is that correct?
Actually, GWO 1801 expires in August.
So, okay, it was just that one. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Thank you.
so
So that-
normally we only extend things once a year, 1 year intervals, but where this, if you're asking this to be extended after August for a year, I was gonna say 2 years is fine because you're already gonna lose a half year or more until we get to August. But are you asking for 2 years from August for GW 1801?
I am, yes, because the reason why we're asking for 2 years is because recall we have an extensive mitigation planting scheme on the slope behind the house. And so we wanted to have the order of conditions open for those 2 years so that if anything needed to be done, replacement of any vegetation, we can do that under an open order.
Okay. I'm okay with that in this particular condition where you're right, we did push and require an extensive planting plan. So this makes this project a little unique in that aspect, so I'm okay with it. But I would continue down a roll call comment section, Adrian, from here, just to see.
Sure. I believe that was Commissioner Feener, is that right? Or am I starting from the beginning?
Yeah, start from the top because there's someone usually in between.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments at this time.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Feener,
just that, I agree with you, Rob, that, it's because of that caveat that we're allowing a 2-year extension if we approve it. I think you're correct on that statement, since there's an extensive plan that we mandated as part of this project. So I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
No comment. So is this a consent? Do we move on with the vote or do we have to close the hearing on this as well?
This is consent. You can make a vote. Please, when you make the motion, specify the date for me.
Okay. So Ann Joe, did you catch that?
Yes, so we're going from August, we're specifying a 2-year extension from August 2021 to August 2023. Or I guess it would be July 2023, is that correct?
You okay with that, Bill? I think
No,
Bill.
it would be August. It's the calendar date. I don't have the folder in front of me, so I can't give you the exact date.
Yeah,
Well-
it doesn't, why don't we just go with August, be safe. Just, it may
Right.
be 25 months, but
Okay. So I move to approve the request for extension for 2 years for 644 Essex Ave, 02, under wetland ordinance. I've lost my wetland ordinance here.
GW 1801.
Yes. For 2 years through August 2023.
Charpentier seconds.
In a roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Yes, just with the caveat that we understand that as the applicant requested, we don't want to start getting the habit of giving away 2-year extension. So in this case, it's because of a mitigation planting and mortality rate based on a 2-year from the commission's original set of NOI directives.
Okay. Next.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. Have a good night. Next up is our RCOC 28-2463356 Concord Street.
Hello.
Oh, there you
Co-Chairwoman
go.
Gullah, can you hear
I
me?
didn't know there was anyone representing. Sorry, Mr. Ottenheimer. Name and address for the record.
That's all right. Can you hear me? The acoustics okay?
Yep.
Oh, great. Yeah, Dan Ottenheimer, Mill River Consulting, 6 Sergeant Street in Gloucester.
Thank you, Mr. Ottenheimer. So, Adrian, do we have any hiccups with this? Is there a reason why Mr. Ottenheimer is joining us, or?
No, not at all. I think he just received the panelist invitation and thoughtfully sat. Did you sit through this whole thing?
I came on about an hour ago.
This is a no work completed project. And so, is that correct? 256?
No.
Then part of the work was not completed. Is that right?
It's slightly altered from the order of conditions.
Okay, we had a conversation about this one.
Right, right,
I recall.
right.
I have not had the opportunity to visit this site, commissioners. So I did
I can-
ask, I did ask Heimer to provide us with a document that would describe the alterations. Go ahead.
Yep, exactly right. And I've got some photos as well. So just give some background. This is 356 Concord Street. And back in 2016, we came before you to drill a well and build a septic system and rehab what was a barn and convert it into a house. You may, by way of background, what used to be Walker Creek Furniture in Essex around Route 133, Robert Hanlon operated the store there, and this barn was the workshop. And so it was totally overrun with abandoned vehicles and tons of wood and what have you. And he wanted to convert this into his dwelling. So this commission kindly authorized that to happen back in 2016. He called me up a couple of months ago and said, I'd like to apply for the certificate of compliance. And I went out there and looked at it, and things are slightly different from what you approved. So I want to just talk that through with you all. You know, as Adrian and I have worked together on a number of projects, if this was happening today, perhaps I would come before the commission with a request to amend the order. But this is done. It was built 2 or 3 years ago. So just need to think through how it's best to handle it. So the changes, I don't think are significant, and I'll just walk you through them. Essentially, there's a driveway that comes in, and to the north of it, or further up top from that, is where the septic system is located. And we actually were able to move the septic system about 30 feet away from the wetlands, further than what you had approved. And the owner planted all and then some of the native plants that were needing to go between the septic system and the resource area. So he really did a bang up job there. On the left side of the house where the well got drilled, that was all going to be planted around there, and that all got done. The things that are slightly different is the gravel driveway is a little bit of a different size. And then they also built a little doorway entrance to the house that wasn't really accounted for. And they also planted a whole bunch of other areas that used to be just truck parking, and there were abandoned vehicles and what have you. And those are all planted with mostly native species. So it's a little bit different from what you had approved. So I want to be above board about that, but I really don't think anything was untoward here, certainly. And I do think on his own, the owner put in a ton of additional plantings, mostly native, beyond what this commission had asked for. So that's the background.
Excellent. I really applaud you coming forward, Mr. Ottenheimer, with, some people would just try to push it through, one sitting through this to wait and tell us, but more so that, again, someone could have just tried to wash it away, but we appreciate the drawing and the time. That being said, Adrian, are you okay moving this forward with that drawing in place?
Yes, so,
Without doing a site visit?
yeah, so that, and the application package for the request here also shows very obviously the establishment of the planted gardens and the stabilization of the site, as you can see here. So, the concern or the interest when you're reviewing a request for certificate of compliance is the work complete? Are the sites, are the soils stabilized? Are there erosion issues on the site? Do we have a future concern for impact into the resource area that would require we keep the order of conditions open? And the impact on the delta in the plan itself it really is de minimis when taken into consideration the scope of the entire project. So while it is true with the driveway changes, that's something that may have come forward as part of an amended order of conditions if we were ongoing in the process. However, this is another project that is very much before my time. It is all a gravel driveway, so it's not actually an increase in impervious. Generally speaking, the applicant's representative has done his due diligence in representing any changes. And so therefore, there is not a reason not to issue a certificate of compliance.
Excellent. Okay, then with that, Ann Joe, do you want to move forward unless someone has any other comments? I think
I
we're
just
all.
quickly, so the only thing that bothers me about this is the term mostly native. Obviously, I never heard anyone say mostly so fast, Dan, 3 times in a row. That was great. But that being said, I just like to have some confidence, which I do, but resubmit the plant material that is presently there just to make sure that since the installation hasn't joined the do not plant list in Massachusetts for invasive qualities. So I just want to make sure that the stuff that's not native, that makes it mostly native, is now considered invasive on the Mass do not plant list. That's all. My only fear. And that way we can just strike down the word mostly and have people not see the word mostly in the package and have them copy that moving forward. So.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. In the area that was in the approved plan that was to be 100% native, that is 100% native. And then the additional stuff that he just did because he wanted to.
Right, and we've allowed exotics before, and that's fine. I just want to make sure you can put native and exotic accepted plant material. It just mostly is kind of gray. I don't want to see that in the future and copy it. That's all.
Yep. Yep. No, what you're saying makes sense. Yep, I got it.
That's all. Just some specificity. Wow, I said it right. Yeah, it's a hard word.
Specify.
Okay, so with that then, Ann Joe, do you want to put forth a motion for the approval of the RCOC?
Certainly. I move to approve certificate of compliance for RCOC 0282463 at 356 Concord Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Feener?
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall?
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson?
Yes.
And Co-Chair Mangala?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ottenheimer. Have a great night.
Thanks, commissioners. Appreciate your time.
I'm glad you showed up.
All right, are we good?
We are good. That is all to be covered.
Rob,
Adrian, I had
quickly,
a question for you. There's a letter about the Haskell Reservoir in the folder.
Yeah, so that's a really exciting story that's spinning up, isn't it?
What's happening? What did I miss?
Well, you were there with Melissa Cox's meeting. At Haskell.
Oh, I didn't know that was Haskell Pond. I thought that was. Isn't it? Oh, I get it. For the gun range.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I'm in investigative steps. I think that it's too soon for me to offer any comment. That's all I can say. I'm learning more every day.
Okay. John, you had something?
Yeah, I just, again, I want to remind everybody that this is my last term as CPA in accordance with the bylaw. I cannot serve past this year. We're doing the recommendations right now, moving forward. So if anybody was interested, I would recommend them letting me know, and then attending some meetings virtually beforehand so you get accustomed to it. Because as of January 1, I can no longer be a
Participate.
representative.
Oh,
Okay. Well, thank you for your time on there, John.
Yeah, it's been a great pleasure.
Okay.
all right. It's cool. Very cool that Gloucester has it. I can tell you, my community does not have the CPA, and it shows.
Well, there's been a lot of projects this year that, have a lot of discussion. So, one of the best parts about the group is that we do have a lot of variety in there and a lot of different aspects, which sometimes becomes somewhat tumultuous, but we're doing what's right for the city. And I think someone that joins needs to have an open mind and a willingness to speak what's on their mind and be able to take the personal views, maybe put them aside and look what's best for the city. That's the hardest part. So if somebody was willing to do that, that would be a great asset to us.
Excellent. Okay, so me move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Feener,
Ian Barry, no.
Commissioner,
No.
Yeah. Troublemaker. Say yes.
say yes.
Yes, I said yes. I changed my vote.
Okay.
You know what? Point of order here before I finish. You are a slim group. And if too many of you decide you're going to go off the rails, then I do not have a quorum approval. And I would like to add, all of you, I need you all to go into Three Pond Road. I think Feener,
I signed
John
them all.
Feener, you signed, Barry Gradwell, you signed, and Bill Cook, you have signed. However, Anjo Jackson, Linda Charpentier, and Rob Gullo, you need to go in and sign the signature pages for the orders and determinations that are set to go out tomorrow, because similarly to tonight, when one commissioner recuses and another commissioner recuses on two separate projects, then we don't have four. So you have to, one of you has to hold the space for the other one.
I got
And what happens is everybody needs to sign when more than one commissioner is recusing on projects.
Got it.
It would be very helpful. I'm sorry, it would be real helpful if there were a reminder like this at the end of every meeting, because I just don't even think of it without that reminder.
Right.
Okay.
Second of all, when will the ones for tonight's meeting be there?
I will try really hard to get them off to my clerk, the signature pages, and have him print them first thing tomorrow morning and add to the sheet, to the folder.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Adrian, you're saying that there are signature pages that we need to go in tomorrow and sign?
Yes.
And when were they put there? Because I was there and there was nothing there for the Conservation Commission,
It's
In
downstairs.
in the orange folder
right?
downstairs. Have you seen it before?
Yeah, but it wasn't there when I was there.
It was the second shelf down. It wasn't on the top shelf. It was the second shelf down. It was a big orange folder on that little bookcase thing. I didn't see it first either, and I looked the second shelf down, so I moved it down one level less.
'Cause
was,
God knows, I went through massive traffic disasters and everything just to get there, and there was no folder.
So if that happens, call me. And it's possible that it's upstairs with my clerk and I will have him carry it down to you.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Adrian, just so you know, I'll be there Monday morning. I can't get there until Monday morning, so,
Okay, I
So-
have your signature on the last cycle already.
right.
So I can get there about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Is that gonna be adequate
Yeah, I think that will be fine. Yeah.
or too late?
Nope, that will be fine. I'll have him slide that stuff in. He can do the rest of the collating after the fact.
Well, how early in the morning is it open?
Well, the building you can access as early as 8 a.m.
Would the
The
sheets
cable
be there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't need to see my clerk at all. He's upstairs behind a locked door, you know?
Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
Wow.
oh, yeah.
Wow, you
The annex
kidnapped
is
them?
locked.
You're
You have
locking
to
up
have the-
people now.
Yeah, you have to have an appointment.
You
Yeah.
feed them?
It's weird in there. It's really weird. There's nobody there.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's weird.
You can always call him at his extension and he'll come down if you can't find it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you
With
may want to, Adrian, I'm not sure if everyone has Jim's phone number, if it can be given out, or
Oh,
if
yeah,
it's just the upstairs one. But the more information we have, the more accessible we can be.
So Rob, I do want to change my vote to adjournment to a yes. And
Okay.
we stopped at Barry saying no.
All right.
Co-chairwoman Jackson.
Another thing that we can
Yes.
consider, if anybody has any suggestions about a seventh person, because after July or August, when the festival season starts up again, some of us, like me, might be disappearing.
I know. Well, we do have an applicant and I believe he's moving through the pipeline. So we'll see.
Excellent. Good to hear.
Yep.
I got some, when I was up for my reappointment, I asked that actually to help us foster some way of getting another, to fill the commission again. Not just because, for in general, we haven't had a full commission in a long time. And I don't know if it was part of that, but I'm just glad to hear that there is movement in that direction. Good.
All right, I have to go, so.
All
Rob,
right. We
you
haven't
guys-
finished. I say, and Joe, are you yay or nay to adjourn?
I'm yay.
I'm yay to adjourn. I think that does it.
That's everyone.
All right. Have a great night,
Okay.
everyone. Be safe.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, you
Everyone.
too.
Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night.
You too, Adrian.
Everybody take care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Okay.